Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the third week of the this tutorial session, and I'll be sharing my screen. Okay. So, welcome everyone to the NPTEL course on Foundations of Cognitive Robotics. This is week 3 of the tutorial session. This is a course taken by Professor Bishak Bhattacharya from IIT Kanpur, and I am Suryadeep, the TA for this course. And this week I'll try to solve assignments of week 3 for the previous run of this course. So if you have any doubt, you can write it in the chat box and I will take it at the end of the lecture. Okay, so let us begin. So coming to the first question for week 3's assignment, which of the following is a mathematically distinct way in which an excitable membrane can go from rest to rhythmic behavior? So a membrane goes from rest to rhythmic behavior on slight perturbations, so it leads to the phenomenon called bifurcation. So bifurcation is basically a system whose trajectories can diverge into two different paths. So they have to, on solving the system dynamics, you get two equilibrium points, and depending on the equilibrium points, the system parameter and the initial condition, the system can take up two different trajectories. So that is known as bifurcation. Bi stands for two. So there are three types of bifurcation that can actually lead to which can lead for an excitable membrane from rest to rhythmic behavior. So these are the three: one, the saddle node bifurcation, the Hopf bifurcation, and the homoclinic bifurcation. So for this question, all three of them are correct, and hence the answer is D. For this graphs represents the system trajectories. So when the system trajectory in this saddle node bifurcation is in the third quadrant, it is stable, but when it goes to the second quadrant, it becomes unstable. Similarly, for the Hopf bifurcation, there is an inner limit circle and there is an outer limit circle. So once it's outside the inner limit circle, it tries and goes to the outer limit circle, and similarly it can go out from this outer limit circle as well. This is the Hopf bifurcation, and the final is the homoclinic bifurcation. So for this question, it is answer D. Coming to the second question, which factor of the axon of a squid was beneficial to the Hodgkin and Huxley study? So what they did was, in squids, what happens is, if you can see these neurons, so these neurons have a very thick axons. So a large diameter of the axon enables enable the study of how the concentration of sodium potassium, the conductance of sodium potassium, was related to the initiation and propagation of axon potential. So what Hodge and Huxley did was that they clamped voltage, they put voltage clamps along the axon of this of a squid, and they measured how the axon potential propagated along the axon. So the large diameter of the axon was beneficial for their study. So this is the the increased view of the axon. As you can see, this is the giant axon. So it can range from 0.5 to around 1 millimeter in thickness, which is very high. So this axon basically helps in contraction of the mantle of the squid when it is escaping a predator. So that's why this axon plays a very important role in reflex action of the squid. Coming to the third question, which part of the squid was beneficial for the Hodgkin-Huxley study? So already, as we discussed, it was the axon that they studied, and how the axon potential was initiated and propagated. Coming to question 4. So a population of oscillators achieve a collective enhancement of precision. So you have 4 options. If an oscillator is ahead of a group, the group tends to speed it up. If it is going too slowly, the group tends to slow it down. If an oscillator is ahead of the group tends to slow it down. If it is going too slowly, the group tends to slow it down. If an oscillator is ahead of the group tends to speed it up. If it is going too slowly, the group tends to speed it up. Or number 4, if the oscillator is ahead of the group tends to slow it down, and if it is going too slowly, the group tends to speed it up. So what does enhancement of precision mean? So precision means basically moving together. So a group of oscillators moving in phase is basically referred to as the precision of, here in this case, the collective precision. So if you analyze all the 4 options, what you see, the first option A, what option A does is, suppose this is a bunch of oscillators here, and if another oscillator, it has a bunch of oscillators, let's say, and if another oscillator is ahead of the group, so if it speeds it up, then it moves this way, and if it is behind the group, if it is going too slowly, it slows it down. So speeding up is indicated by pointing to the right, and slowing down is, let's say, pointed going to the left. So basically what happens is that they are moving away from each other, so they cannot achieve precision in this case. Similarly for B, what happens is, if it is ahead, if the oscillator is ahead, it tends to slow down. So okay, this is, they're approaching, but if it is going slowly, then also it slows down. So basically in the second case, they will lose precision, whereas in the first case they might achieve precision, but in the second case they will lose. And same reasoning goes for C, where it speeds up in both the cases. And for D, if you can see, is that when it is ahead, it slows the oscillator down. So this is like the first case of B, and if it is lagging, it tends to speed it up. So this option D is therefore the correct answer for maintaining the precision. So answer is D. Coming to question 5, which of the following is a type of artifact present in EEG data? So what does EEG does is that, if you can see, this is the EEG stands for electroencephalogram. So it's basically it puts a mask on top of the head of a patient with electric sensors placed on at different positions in the mask, and it excites electrically different parts of the brain, as you can see in this figure, and it measures the activities of different parts of the brain. So that is a EEG electrode. Now what is an artifact is basically is any other electric signal that is picked up by these electrodes other than the activities of the brain. So you have 4 options: thinking, dreaming, cardiac artifact, talking. Now among this, an electric signal is only generated from a cardiac artifact, and hence that is the right answer. There can be other types of artifacts also, like a pulse, etc., but for this option, cardiac artifact is the right answer. Coming to question 6, according to Winfrey's model, which of the following gives the correct excuse me gives the correct mean field model governing equation? So you have four options. So basically this is the how a group of oscillators, how they're synchronize with each other, that is given by this. So the correct answer is option B. I'll explain what each terms in option B is. So theta is the phase of the oscillator. So I stands for each of the oscillators. So this is oscillator 1 and this is oscillator 2, let's say. So theta I is the phase of it. So the angle, let's say, it makes with the vertical, so that is the phase theta I. Omega I is the frequency with which this ith oscillator is oscillating. So frequency, as you can see from this curves, the sinusoidal curves that you can see, that is omega I. It is varying. So there is kappa and there is n. N is the total number of oscillators, and it sums over all j equal to 1 to n. So these are the sum over all the other oscillators. So P and R stands for P of theta j. This is the sensitivity factor. So sorry, the influence factor. So how a jth oscillator influence ith oscillator. So this is the influence factor, and R is the sensitivity factor. So this is the right answer for this question. Coming to the seventh question, which of the following is not an example of synchronization phenomenon? So now, as you can have you understood, the synchronization phenomenon occurs only when there is some periodic motion or there is oscillations. So we have four options. So a pacemaker, cells of the heart, insulin secreting cells of the pancreas, crickets that chirp in unison, and leaves of a tree. Now which among this does not lead to synchronization? So pacemaker, if you know a pacemaker, it produces periodic vibration, so it is a oscillatory device, so therefore it can lead to synchronization. Insulin secreting cells of the pancreas, so when they secrete at the same time, so when the insulin is secreting the pancreas, so multiple cells act together to secrete the insulin, so they are also in some kind of oscillations while secreting, so therefore they can lead to a synchronization phenomenon. Crickets that chirp in unison, so crickets are insects that usually makes noise in the evening near bushy areas, so since they are making noise, they are leading to some periodic signals, so therefore synchronization can happen. So but leaves of a tree, they do not do any oscillatory activities as such, so therefore leaves of a tree is the correct answer for this question. Coming to question 8, a soliton is a self-reinforcing solitary wave packet that retains its shape while it propagates at constant velocities. So these are the solutions of a widespread class of weakly linear dispersive partial differential equations describing physical systems, or weakly non-linear dispersive partial differential equations, or strongly linear dispersive partial differential equation, or weakly non-linear dispersive ordinary differential equation. So the right answer is B. It's a weakly non-linear dispersive partial differential equation. So a soliton is basically a single wave, so only one wave that flows through a medium that retains its shape. So as you can see in this animation over here, a soliton, that it's moving but it retains its shape. So usually what we see in a wave, in a river or a pond, that one wave is succeeded by another and so on, but a soliton is just one single wave, and hence its name. So the right answer is B. Coming to question number 9, in the Euler wave equation, this is the Euler wave equation, the term delta rho a denotes a, velocity of light, lateral density of the membrane, material parameter, change in lateral density of the membrane. So if you look at this expression, so this is the temporal derivative and this is the spatial derivative, where rho is the lateral density of the membrane through which the wave is propagating, but c is the speed of sound through that membrane, and since we are not interested in rho but rather delta rho, so delta rho is change in lateral density of the membrane. So the right answer for this question is D. Moving on to the final question. So solitons are caused by, so there are 4 options: a summation of nonlinear and dispersive effects in a medium, cancellations of nonlinear and dispersive effects of a medium, cancellations of linear dispersive effects in a medium, and summations of linear and dispersive effects in a medium. So if you see, there are 2 summations and 2 cancellations. So if you consider summation, so a summation will always lead to more noises in the wave that is generated. So the answer will not be a summation but a cancellation, and like we mentioned before, it is a solution of a weakly nonlinear and dispersive partial differential equation in question 8. So therefore it is a cancellation of nonlinear and dispersive effects, and hence only one of the wave you can see. So the right answer is B for this question. So these were the questions for week 3 from the previous run of this course. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you have regarding the solutions I presented. So you can mention in the chat box. I'll have a look at it. Thank you. Yeah, if you have any questions, so please write in the chat box. Okay, there is a question 1 answer. Okay, let me go back to question 1. So question 1, you basically if you can see the screen, so all 3 types of bifurcations can lead to it can turn a excitable membrane from rest to rhythmic behavior. So all these are bifurcation models that are applicable for the excitable membrane to go from rest to rhythmic behavior. The saddle node, this is the saddle node bifurcation, this is the Hopf bifurcation, and the homoclinic bifurcation. So it depends on the perturbations and the initial conditions that you provide to the system of equation, and can bifurcate according to the system parameters into 2 different trajectories. So all of the options are correct for this question. Okay, any further questions? Okay, in this case, let us close the session for today, and we'll meet again next week at the same time for the last week 4's discussion of the assignments. Thank you everyone for